This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're gonna be typing the mob boss, Michael Franzese. At his highest, he was a captain, and he was making millions of dollars frauding the government with a tax, with a gas tax. Never been seen before. And at a point, I think he was getting so much notoriety that his boss was thinking about killing him. People don't like that, man. People don't like you to get too much money, too much fame. They'll get rid of your ass. But now he is a devout Christian. He's changed his life. He has a YouTube channel.
Hmm.
PC anything,
Hmm.
PCs anything you guys want to say about the guy?
I,
Peace.
I don't have anything to elaborate with.
PC anything?
Um, Seen him. They use him a lot with like I think just recently they were bringing up about like after World War II, um, how they use the mob and they always go to him because he's got a lot of the inside secrets. I
Mhm.
think even with the JFK assassination, apparently there's links to the
Mob.
Italian mob. Yeah, so. Apparently there's a whole lot of connections with that, and they've been using him for kind of like all the rumor mill within the family because I mean they're obviously sworn to secrecy, but everyone within the family knows a lot of this stuff, especially if you get to a certain level. So yeah, but he seems pretty switched on. I like his content.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did see something about the JFK, how he became president. They said it counted a lot of dead people, and the mob also helped him win. So
Mhm.
yeah, guys.
Well, yeah, I think JFK. I think either his dad or his uncle or something was like loosely, not even loosely, like during Prohibition with the alcohol and stuff.
Mhm.
He was very much into the racketeering or something behind the scenes.
Yeah, his dad was a big
He
boss.
probably even used that to help finance his campaigns and stuff like that. So
I'm not
yeah.
100% sure, but I think his dad's name was Jackie Kennedy, and his dad was actually trying to make his way to being president, but then he said he got into some, I want to say Nazi propaganda, and it basically barred him from ever being president. So then he like tried to set up this grand master plan for his kids to become president. Who knows? He's most likely a fucking INTJ or something. Um, who knows? So
Mm.
we did type JFK, and he's
Mm.
ESTJ. Guys, we'll be using Linda Berens interaction styles and temperament combined with cognitive functions. If you want a more hands-on experience to be able to speed up your growth, join our Discord and join our Demigod Dojo. We have our like pretty much when we're talking about more about the functions and breaking down like the little smaller clips and stuff like that and new ideas that we're going to be pushing out. So I would highly recommend you join that. And if you want somebody to be typed by us, you have to join Discord as well, man, and boost the server. All right, so we got Michael Franzese here. They got him as an 8W9 ENTJ. And secondly, they got him as ISTJ, guys. So here we go to the board. ENTJs is direct, initiating outcome, pragmatic, systematic, abstract, TFI, and SENI. The importance of this is um, what was I gonna say? So when you're looking at ENTJs, they're not the most overly abstract type. So just be heads up with that because of the TESE loop. Yeah, they're on the spectrum of like being like the least abstract type of the abstract types. So yeah, let's get into it. And comment below what you think his type is. He's been all over, man.
I'll be honest with you, I might have gotten killed that night. So there's a lot of people I sit down with and I meet, but Michael, I have to tell you, you're one of the most fascinating people that I've been looking forward to sitting down with.
And you had Nicky Eyes.
Michael Franzese, let me give you some stats. Here's the best way to open it up so you'll know who we're sitting down with. So in 1986, Fortune magazine, November 10th, Fortune magazine does an article saying the 50 biggest mafia bosses, right? And and when you go through this, the part in here that's fascinating to me is the following. They have you down on 18th place, right? And then they had John Gotti at 13. So you look at this and you say, well, you're 18, Gotti is 13, and then you have Anthony Salerno at first, and you have some of these other names, Persico, Carmine Persico, who you work with very closely for many years, Salvatore Santoro, some of these names that people know about. The part that I looked at, Michael, there's not a single person on this list where their age starts with the number 3 except for you. Gotti was 46, you were 35. So we're not just talking about somebody who made it to the high level of the Colombo family, the 5 families, the Colombo family yourself. You did it at 35 years old. How was it being raised into that environment and that family?
I would say I had a good role model as far as, you know, my dad being a real person of substance in that life. And, you know, I love my father. He was everything to me growing up. And, you know, he was an important figure there. And it's not that I tried to emulate him, Patrick, because I never thought I would be part of that life growing up. You know, I had different thoughts. I was going to, you know, I was an athlete. I was going to school. I was going to be a doctor. But once I made a decision to get into that
I was doing this, I was doing that, but that's good.
life, I had, as far as I was concerned, the best guy in the world to model myself after, and that was my dad.
As far as I'm concerned, the best guy, very FI.
I learned a lot from him.
FIT.
Directly watching all the things that was taking place.
Yeah, just the way he carried himself, you know, the way people respected him, the respect that he had for my mother and my sisters, and just the way he carried himself, you know. And he was a man's man. And, you know, from the time I was 5 years old, my father drummed it into my head, you know, Michael, you have to be a man's man. That's the standard in life you have to live up to. He, in many ways, formed the person that I became later on in life.
He had so much street credit that you can tell if somebody did something to you and they knew who your dad was, there was a line, like you couldn't mess with it. How was it being raised in that environment?
Well, it was different. You know, I always tell the story. I was an athlete, and baseball was really my sport, and my dad would never miss a game, no matter what he was doing, mob business, legit business. I'd be playing ball, he'd show up. He'd always come to the field late, and he'd pull up in a big black Cadillac or a black Lincoln. He'd get out of the car dressed sharp in a suit, and he'd always have 5 or 6 guys with him because he never traveled alone. And I'd be up to bat, and they'd walk out on the field, and the umpire would take one look at him and never call strike 3 on me. So, I mean, it had its advantages, you know, being Sonny Franzese's son. You know, he was just a great father, you know, and obviously I knew there was something different about him, but my dad never spoke about it in the house.
Really?
Never.
So you didn't really know fully what was taking place?
Never from him. I knew because he was such a high-profile figure that we lived in an environment where law enforcement was around us all the time. And he was under surveillance from 5 or 6 different agencies, from the feds right down to all the state and locals. So they would park cars around our house and follow it.
We can't eliminate direct. Like, he is direct.
Wherever we went. And, you know, I viewed them at that time as the enemy because I viewed my dad as my hero. And so I knew who he was.
Very FI.
I obviously read the papers. He had a lot of press. And I observed things, but never from his mouth. He would never bring it into the house. In the house, we were just a family. That didn't exist.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
There are 6 areas I'd like to touch up on here with you. One is story, on how that life was. 2, how the game, because you wrote a book, I'll Make You an Offer You Cannot Refuse, the game between what you had to experience and how similar that is on the corporate side. I think there's a lot to be learned from the entrepreneurs who watch this. How to identify a consigliere. I really want to stay on that because what it means to be a consigliere, how do you identify it? It's a very fascinating way you talk about it in the book. Human nature, you know, how do you read through the BS and how do you read through some people that are trying to take advantage of you? What are some of the things that you saw? And then some side questions about characters, and then some fun questions at the end of
shit. Like PPD has gotten a lot better at interviewing. A lot better.
You know, if you don't help your father out, he's going to die in prison. So I went to see him in Leavenworth, and I said, Dad, I'm not going to school. You're going to die in here if I don't help you. He didn't want that. I mean, he kind of argued, no, I want you to go to school, get an education. I said, Dad, it's too late. My mind is made up. And he said to me, he said, if you're going to be on the street, then I want you on the street the right way. In his mind, the right way was to become a member of his life. And he proposed me at that point for membership into the life. You know the interesting thing, Pat? My father, even at that point, never told me what the life was about. Because, you know, you're not supposed to talk about that life with anybody outside of it. And he wouldn't violate that policy, even with me, his own son. My dad's a good soldier. He just said, go home, somebody will be in touch with you, do whatever you're told. It was kind of on-the-job training. And 2 weeks later, I sat with the boss, and he ran things down for me and told me what to expect. And for the next year and a half, I was kind of a recruit, where I kind of learned the life, how to do anything I was told to do to prove myself worthy. And then Halloween night, 1975, is when I was formally inducted into that life.
You remember it vividly?
Vividly, yeah.
And what was that process like? Was there a ritual? Was there an experience you had to go through?
Very, very solemn ceremony, very serious. 6 of us walked into a room individually towards midnight that night. It was a very secure setting, obviously. I walked into a room, the boss was seated at the head of like a horseshoe configuration, the underboss and the consigliere to his left and right, and all of our capo regimes or captains were alongside of them.
SI.
And I walked down the aisle.
So much fucking SI, bro. So much.
Yeah.
God damn, he remember everything down to the T. Like, staple that shit.
In front of the boss, I held out my hand. He took a knife right here, cut my finger. Some blood dropped on the floor. This is a blood oath. I cupped my hands. He took a picture of a saint, Catholic altar card, put it in my hands and lit it aflame. It didn't hurt, it burned quickly, it was just symbolic. And he said, tonight, Michael Franzese, you are born again into a new life, into La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours. Violate what you know about this life, betray your brothers, and you will die and burn in hell like the saint is burning in your hands. Do you accept? Yes, I do.
Hell no.
And that's it. That's the ritual. It's
Wow.
short and sweet, but extremely serious.
Now, there were 6 of you.
6 of us. We went in individually. You take it alone.
Got it. And then out of these 6, apparently you're the only one that's alive.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
Not one of them died of natural causes. Every one of them were murdered.
Wow.
Oh shit.
So why are you still here? Because if you read the story and you put yourself out there, and it's not like you went and you ratted people out or you became an informant. There's nothing there that people will say. Even some of the guys that were upset that you stepped away, they don't call you informant. They just say, it's impressive to see that he was able to make it and we're proud of him. Even some of your enemies are saying good things about you. How was that process for you? Never hear somebody survive when they leave the family. How did that happen with you?
Well, Patrick, I didn't have any grand plan, because there's no blueprint to walk away from that life, not enter a program and survive. And, I'm only saying this because it's a fact. I don't know of anybody else that has done that successfully, especially at the level that I reached, because I was at a pretty high level. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I knew that when I walked away, people were going to be very upset. You don't walk away from that life. You're not allowed to renounce it. And I had a lot of trouble as a result. But, for me, there's 2 sides of this. There's a spiritual side, obviously. I'm a person of faith. And the bottom line for me is I believe God had a different plan and a purpose for my life. And over the past 20 years, I've seen more evidence of that, and I'm very secure with that. It's God's plan. But aside from that, I realized that God never...
You know what I've noticed, though? There's one type that tends to blame God for, like, their vision. And you guys know what that is?
What is TJ?
Not trickster. Got to use God as a scapegoat. God told me to do it. God told me to do it. You're not trickster,
I will
motherfucker.
say, a second ago, he was saying, I haven't seen anyone who's done that before. It sounds very SITE, as in like past and trying to get shit done.
Yeah.
Looking the what models that have happened in the past to draw inspiration from. But yeah, there's no manual for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't he look like that guy from Indiana Jones?
Oh, Harrison Ford.
Is it Harrison Ford? Is that his name?
No, dude, that's it. If you're talking about Harrison Ford, no.
Is it Harrison Ford? Ooh. Is that him?
Nah, nah.
No, I think it was somebody else. Who's the guy who be in all them little kidnap movies?
Oh, Liam Neeson, the Taken stuff.
Then he kind of looks like this guy.
No, not
You
really.
don't think so?
No.
You don't think he looks like this motherfucker? Let me see. You don't think he looks like kind of like that?
No.
Yeah, I kind of see it, man. I don't know. I'm like, he looks like that guy from Taken. Whatever the fuck that shit's called.
throws you into the fire without preparing you first. So I spent 20 years in that life at a very high level, and I was a good student of the life. I observed and I watched, and I reached a certain level there. So I knew I had to make changes. You know, one of the horrors about that life, and I don't know if you know this, but you might be in trouble, in serious trouble.
I don't know if you know this, TE.
Best friend walks you into a room, you don't walk out again. And unfortunately, I've experienced that in my life with other people.
I've experienced that in my life, SI.
And so I said, okay, they're not going to walk me into a room. They're going to have to work to get me. I moved out of New York. I would have never made it in New York. I moved way out across the country to California. It's one thing to try to walk somebody into the room. It's another thing to send a hit squad to try to get somebody who knows what's going on. And I never put a house in my name, no utilities. I never went to any nightclubs.
Hey, PC, check your goddamn your Discord. Tell me he don't look like that.
Bad place for me. I know who hangs out there. Somebody sees me, they make a call to New York, they want to be a hero. I walk in the parking lot, boom, I'm gone. I stopped creating patterns in my life. I never went to the same restaurant every Tuesday night. I never walked my dog every morning at 7 o'clock. So if somebody was scoping me, they had a tough time in figuring
all that. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. That's out
where I was. And I was very disciplined in that. Very disciplined.
I was very disciplined in that, SI.
Never sell my former associates short. There's very capable guys there. And then what happened, I just outlasted everybody. I mean, who went to jail?
I just outlasted
SI.
Jail, who got killed? We had a big war in our family in the early 90s. About 13 guys got killed. Another 20 or something went to jail for life. And I just outlasted everybody. And you know, the major thing for me was that
outlasted everybody, SI.
I never testified against anybody. I didn't send anybody to prison. I didn't put anybody in trouble. Had I done that, it would have been a lot worse. It would have been a lot worse because some people had personal feelings against me. Because when I left, you know, look, I was making a lot of money. A lot of people were earning with me. And when
I was making a lot of money, TE.
Shut that off, people get upset. And they resented that, you know, especially my boss at the time. But the fact that I didn't hurt anybody over a period of time, that really went in my favor. And listen, you know, there's no guarantees. You know, I'm still careful when I go to certain places.
Still till today?
Oh, yeah.
Really? So the level of paranoia is not gone?
It's not paranoia, and you know, it's not a macho thing. I don't want you to think that, but I just feel very secure.
I don't want you to think that, TE.
But, you know, look, God doesn't tell you to be stupid. I can't go back to Brooklyn and say, hey, guys, I'm moving back into the neighborhood. You know, it'd be like thumbing my nose in their face. So I don't do that. But, you know, listen, I'm a speaker. I'm out in front of thousands of people every week. I've signed books for hundreds of people. I don't know who's on that book line. You know, you never know. You know, I'm not a kid anymore. You know, God has blessed me with good things in my life, and I think I'll be around for a while longer. But if not, I mean, what could you do? I mean, that's how I look at things.
It seems, Michael, that you're very
outcome
resolved. I mean, when speaking to you, there's none of it that you're uncomfortable, which is fascinating. But talking about numbers, I don't know if everybody really knows what kind of numbers you were bringing in. The numbers I read about, you were making 6 to 8 mil a week, 6 to 8 million per week, and you were selling $500 million of gas per month. And they said you are the highest money maker mafia boss outside of Al Capone. I mean, there's a lot of people that are making money with you. How did that happen?
People think that mob guys sit around in their social club.
People think, talking about what other people think, TE.
And we start to target different businesses. Well, we're going to take that over, we're going to do this. Normally it doesn't happen that way. What happens is people come to us. People would come to me with all sorts of deals. And it was mostly guys that came inside their company that had a way to make some money, and they figured they can do it with me. I can protect them, I can finance them, we have strength, you know, all that. And that's how this happened in the gas business. Some guy came to me, had a very small gasoline operation, and he said, you know, I have a way to defraud the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. It was attractive to me because at that time I didn't like the government. And, you know, my
I didn't like the government, FI.
Targets back then were always bigger companies. I didn't go after small stuff.
The list of companies I see, I'm like, you didn't go after small.
No, I didn't go after small. I figured the ones that can afford it, no problem. And the government was a huge company. So what happened, he had a couple of other wise guys that were kind of trying to extort him in his business. And I was able to solve that for him. And then we went into business together, and I'll tell you how it happened. I put somebody with him because I didn't know him that well, and I said, I'm going to put this fellow with you. We're going to see exactly what you got going on, and we'll try to figure this out. Well, the guy I put with him was a butcher. He was my butcher. Big guy, had a scar across the top of his head. Big Vinny, we called him. So he's coming to every Saturday. He would bring meat to my house, right? So this Saturday he pulls up and he's got this big box on his shoulder. And I said, what are you doing with all that meat? Are we having a party or something? I don't know about it. He says, hey, Chief, it ain't meat. I said, what is it? He said, come on in the kitchen. We go in the kitchen. He puts the box down. He opens it up. $280,000.
That's high.
He said, that's the first week's take in the gas business. And long story short, he really got my attention at that point. I grew that 280 into, at times, almost $8 million a week.
Per week.
Per week, yeah. And basically, devised a scheme, built upon what that little germ of an idea that he had, and we were
systematic with it. See, if he was pragmatic, he probably would have got killed. And the reason why he would have got killed, is because once you start making that type of money, that ego starts to chime in the back of your head, right? And then you feel like you ain't got to listen to people, right? A la John Gotti, right? And like he's making all this money. It's hard to deal with a motherfucker when they making money because that becomes the real them, right? And like they said, if you making all this money, you got ego, it's not hard for the actual boss to whack your ass, right? They can't have you getting out of fucking line. So that's like the perks of not being pragmatic, guys. Like pragmatic guy making all this money. Woo! PC, you would have been dead, man. You would have been dead, PC. I would have been definitely dead. First thing I would have, no. I'd have been, he would have had to put me in the back of the river. They would have found me in the back of the river.
defrauding the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. It was 20 to 40 cents, depending where you were located. The government couldn't figure it out. We had a very efficient scheme put together, and they just couldn't figure it out.
Efficient scheme.
We were always one step ahead of it.
And is this part of the whole RICO story, which was, you know, kind of linked to that, where corporation after corporation after corporation, and then the last one you would file a bankruptcy, and this was figured out on how to avoid paying the taxes, which allowed you to kind of compete against your marketplace. So you had guys that were buying 1 million gallons, all of a sudden they're buying 2, 3, then they're doing 10 million gallons from you, and you're one of the biggest vendors to them.
Patrick, we would...
and you're not even Middle Eastern or from Texas. You know, you're Italian doing this.
I had probably 300 gas stations. We had branded and unbranded stations, and what we would
Very TE.
do is, let's say it was a mobile station, I'm just picking that out, because we dealt with all of them. And we go to a station and say, how much you paying for a gallon of gas? They say, oh, I'm paying $1. Now, how would you like to pay 95 cents? Now, 5 cents is a big saving for them. I said, great. I said, I'll tell you what you do. How many loads a week are you getting from mobile? Oh, we're getting 6. All right, buy 3 from them, buy 3 from us. We'll deliver in the middle of the night. We'll save you that. By the end of the day, they wanted us to service them all. They didn't want to buy anything from mobile anymore. I said, you can't do that. You got to keep your brand. Nobody can compete with us. And if we bought a couple of gas stations, like I remember one incident.
That was very affiliative. Like, you know, he could have been pragmatic and said, fuck it, like, buy everything for me, but he kind of, you know, those visual.
I think, he needed to do that, man, because essentially he's kind of using the brand as a front.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually quite smart. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, he knows those lines to toe, the lines to toe, which is very important. Sometimes, you know, pragmatic people can just shatter those lines, like, you know, like, fuck it, you know, I'm gonna take it all, you know.
There were 4 gas stations on a corner, big ones. We bought one of them, and I went to the other 3, and I said, now here's the deal. I said, I'm gonna be the lowest guy on the corner. I said, if you sell for 95,
outcome,
I'm gonna sell for 92. If you sell for 92, I'm gonna go down to 80 until I put you all out of business. So let's keep it at a certain level, and we don't.
Very direct win, where outcome.
Don't have to compete.
You told them that, so it was a regulated number.
Huh?
Yeah.
If this, then that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all TE.
The low grade TI.
Yeah.
That we're doing with, so no one's.
I said, if you guys stay at this number, you'll be fine. If you try to compete with me, I'm gonna knock you out, because you can't compete with me. And pretty soon they were
very TE, very outcome, very efficiency. Like, this is what it is. Take it or leave it. Right.
They're all buying from me anyway. There'll never be anything like that again.
I don't know if I read this or I saw you talk about it, where one of the guys you did business with, was this the oil guy who for 8 years tracked everything that you were doing, who was actually the guy that ended up becoming the informant that gave the information out that, you know, stopped the entire operation?
Yeah, he was my partner. He's passed away now. We never had an ill word in 7 years that we were together. My kids called him Uncle Larry, his kids called me Uncle Michael. But the whole time I was his meal ticket, because he knew if he ever got in trouble that I was the guy that they would want. So he kept a diary on me. He testified
Guys that they would want any.
against me in one case, big case, with Rudy Giuliani indicted me.
All
Mark,
right, guys.
yeah.
So Rudy Giuliani retired INTJ. Look at that fucking cranium.
And I was acquitted. So the jury still didn't believe him.
You're making all the family's money now. They're all kind of happy about you, but at the same time, you know, you're there as well. What happened when all of a sudden you were growing a little too fast? What kind of threats did you start seeing at that point? Were there some people that were power people saying, wait a minute, I don't like this guy having this much power?
Yeah, you know what happened? I had a couple of things against me. Number one, I was a younger guy. And the older guys tend to resent you. You know, you're young, you're doing all this, you're making all this money. And that comes with the territory. You can't help that. You try to deal with it as best you can. You know, you're not flaming that fire, so to speak, but it happens. And then, you know, I had teamed up with the Russians. I had all the Russian mob guys in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, were all my partners. And they were a pretty big crew. And I think it was Newsday, a publication out in Long Island, had written a story that I was becoming so powerful I was going to break away from the Colombos and start my own family. No truth to it whatsoever. It was like a fairy tale, fiction, made up. But it got into people's heads. And, you know, my boss started to question some of the Russian guys. You know, some things started to happen like that. And I knew it, so I was on my guard about it. You know, my father and I discussed it. My dad was always in and out of jail on parole. So when he was out...
His anticipation skills are pretty fucking good, bro.
What?
His anticipation skills are pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
He's just aware of, like, seems like I said, when he's making all that money, bro, like you put imagine you put Vince McMahon in that position and he's making all that money, bro. Vince about to try to take over the whole goddamn thing.
But good any child on him.
Yeah.
We talked about these things, but I knew I had to watch myself. You know, it comes with the territory.
What was the one event that happened where you're kind of like, listen, I got to start taking a look at what's going on with me? Was it Joey Colombo's story? Was it the Castellano, what Gotti did to him? Or what was it where you're like, listen, I'm going to start paying a little bit more attention on what's going on in the marketplace right now?
You know, it wasn't that. It was an incident that I had personally with my boss when they basically walked me into that room and really put me on the hot seat. Because there was a story that said that I had stole $2 billion from the government, and I'm handing the family $2 million a week. So, I mean, I got questioned. You know, they were saying, $2 billion, Michael. I said, hey, my answer was, when they write about everybody else, it's a lie. When they're writing about me, all of a sudden it's the truth. I said, come on, man, I'm giving you guys all this money. You don't have to do anything. I'm taking care of everything, you know. I put nobody in trouble. Nobody's on the line here. If anybody goes down...
Doing the right thing here.
Affiliative.
Like, holy shit.
Affiliative.
It's going to be me and my crew.
Only reason he's alive.
I said, well, what's going on here?
That's what I said. That's the reason why he's fucking alive. He's pragmatic. He'd be dead. He'd be cooked.
You know, so I got a little upset about it. And then I was talking to the boss, and you don't lose your head with the boss, but I got a little angry. And then I had to tone myself down a little bit, you know. But that put me on the alert. I said, you know, I got to really watch myself here because, you know, mistakes here you pay dearly for in life. And
You smart guy, bro. I mean, it's good. It'd be hard, boy. I guarantee you, if you put an INTJ or ENTJ with that much power, boy, they about to end up dead. They about to end up fucking dead. They're gonna start drinking from that Kool-Aid, and they're gonna end up fucking dead.
It kind of just, like I said, put me really on my guard. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I thought I might have gotten killed that night. You know, the setup was bad. My best friend was walking me into a room. It was a room in Brooklyn. I'll be honest with you. You know, I had to walk out of the car and into that house and that basement apartment. It was probably a 30-yard walk. That was either the longest or the shortest walk of my life. Yeah, I mean, as I speak now, I can hear the crickets chirping.
SI.
And I can
SI, yeah.
Remember the
SI.
smell of the flowers.
I
Unbelievable.
can remember the smell of the flower was SI.
Yeah, because you know,
SI.
Patrick, I learned something. When you think you're
SI.
going to meet your maker, and I wasn't a religious guy at that point, you start to pray. And I was nervous. I tried not to show it because I said, hey, if this is it, this is it. You kind of get conditioned to that
Yeah.
life. But yeah, that was the night. And I didn't appreciate it.
Years later now, because you
All
hear.
right, man, we're done. He's ESTJ. He's ESTJ, ladies and gentlemen. We rarely get us an ESTJ, guys, but he was clearly direct. He's definitely SINE. He's definitely TEFI. He's definitely affiliative, and he's definitely systematic. No real abstractions there at all, guys. So ESTJ, but this guy's awareness, man, and alertness is fucking amazing.
He's
Um,
prodigy.
I think he's a subtype. What you guys thinking?
I'm
Indie?
thinking normalizing slash
Okay.
dominant.
Yeah, indie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enneagram, what you guys thinking? ESTJ?
I wouldn't know. I do know he's above average.
I
Or
would say
no, prodigy for the road to demigod.
I
I'd
would
go
say
prodigy.
that he seems compliant, which is
Mhm.
1, 2, 6.
Yeah, I think he'd be probably in the 1 or 2 range if I'm to be
I think
I
one
don't
or
know,
honest.
six.
man. Like that,
I think
I
six.
think, yeah, I was gonna go with six, man. He
Yeah.
seemed to be kind of like
Hmm.
one step ahead
Yeah, he's
of
the
some of
anticipation.
the shit
Yeah.
fuckery with the rest of the fucking mob, man.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He had some instincts on that shit.
Yeah. I have to
Yeah.
go. Wait. The only thing here is like you go 6W5 or 6W7. I think you got to go 6W7, right?
Hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. 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 And he's got to be SO. I mean, he's leading corporations and all this other shit. And he's also
Probably
like,
SB.
SP on the end.
yeah. And that SP is the one that worries about all what if could go
Yeah.
wrong. Um,
Prodigy.
yeah.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think,
I'd say Prodigy.
yeah.
He switched on as fuck, bro.
Yeah, he's
I've always had respect for that dude.
but damn, it's like crazy because like, man, it's like every situation he was in, he played that bitch perfectly. Like that is extremely hard to do, and he didn't let the ego get to him, which is the most important part. Because I'm telling you, if we were making $6 to $8 million, and I was like PC, we making $6 to $8 million. Listen, motherfucker, we about to kill that motherfucker.
Yeah, but I
But
think
he
the
even
reason
saw
he
some
did.
of his opposing coming out. That was
Yo, me and
pretty.
PG, all of us gonna be underneath the river. I promise you that. We gonna be all dead. Me, you, Thomas, Christian, we all fucking dead. Cause I'm damn sure we making six to
To,
eight
to be
million. We
to
gonna
be
be counting
honest,
down the
if
days.
I was in that situation, I would have made a few of the same goals that he would have.
Like,
Especially
Yeah.
like the gas situation, that just seemed like a no-brainer to me.
I would have been slowly.
There's no point making things like more difficult if they
No,
don't need to
some of
be.
that was just
Especially,
common sense.
yeah, exactly. But I will say that one of the reasons I think he did so well is because of his SI.
Yeah,
Hmm.
The
yeah.
very fact that
Being
he was
affiliative.
always doing the same
Discipline.
thing. Yeah, it's not even so much the discipline, it's the fact that the stability makes you
Yeah.
predictable. And people aren't so fearful of people who are predictable. It's when people start becoming unpredictable that they're going, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When people are like, this guy's being shifty, it's usually because they change their patterns. But if their pattern is always the same and it's always consistent, then they're like, okay, there's nothing to see here yet
Yeah,
until something fucking alerts people. But yeah, if he was all over the fucking shop and doing fucking weird shit that he couldn't fucking back up, then yeah, he would have been in a lot of trouble.
yeah,
So yeah.
he got whacked.
Mm,
But I just think it just played out perfectly for him.
mm,
Because dude, when you're making that type of money, bro, money puts pressure on people. And the thing is, it's like when you're at the top level of a lot of times, you got like you may have an INTJ boss or you may have an ENTJ boss, and they know how much they treasure fucking money, and then they're thinking in
mm.
their head, you would do what they would do. And that's your problem. That's why you're gonna end up fucking dead. Because they're gonna be thinking you would do what they would do. Systematically, slowly knock you off, slowly but surely, and then take over. I mean, John
Mm.
Gotti did something very similar. So
It's weird. We type a lot of people on this channel, and most of them if I ever met them in real life, I probably wouldn't have much to do with them. But this is one of the few people where I would sit down and have a long, hard conversation and a drink with. He seems like someone that I could really tap for some information. He seems extremely switched on.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like he gives good information, pretty good information, and just like, just how to do things, man. Sometimes, man, just doing things the right way, just like I said, man, if you
And
do things the right way, you never look over your shoulder, which is the best thing about doing something the right way. Like when you pragmatics, a lot of times, sometimes you cut a corner here, and then like you looking over your shoulder, like um,
Hmm.
and a lot of times in life, if you could just avoid the huge setbacks in life, you'll get pretty far. And that's what ECJs do very well. They avoid all of the setbacks. While people in the fucking group, they fucking dick jock any fucking abstract type or NTJ. But a lot of times these NTJs do a certain thing and they blow themselves up. While the ECJ just avoids all of those bad things by following the path that's always worked. And by doing that, they're not getting to level 15 and then blowing up and ending up at step 7 and then keep going. You do that too many times, bro, you're not going anywhere. And that's the pattern the pattern you see with ENTPs a lot. They'll just keep blowing themselves up. So then like they wake up at 40 and they've done nothing with their lives. And that's what you really want to avoid. Um, because then you got to do janky shit. And then you're doing janky shit and then kind of feeds into itself, that negative feedback loop. But that was off topic. But anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here?
Not really.
All right, guys. Well, that's the
well,
mob vice, Michael Franzese. I think he was recommended maybe like a year ago or something. So I think Marcus recommended him. So Marcus, shout out to you, man. ESTJ. And guys, we fucking out, man. Peace.
it's